Okay, in this video what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a look at the possibility of switching off swirl flaps in an edc17 file. Now I've made videos about switching off swirl flaps in edc16 files, and I've explained how there's a couple of possibilities. Now again, it's the same more or less with an edc17. There's a couple of possible ways of looking at how you should switch off the flaps, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through these one at a time. Now the first thing we need to do, of course, is find any maps that might be related to swirl flaps. Now funnily enough, sometimes these can be very difficult to find. Now I've chosen a file where they're not difficult to find, but I'll explain as I go what the problems are. I'm using the VW Tiguan edc17 file. I used this same file when I was looking at error paths. Now I've gone right to the very end of the file simply because otherwise we would be searching the whole file only to find that the flaps are at the end anyway, and they usually are at the end in edc17s. There's information about these swirl flaps scattered throughout the file, but the bit that we're looking for is usually near the end. So what I'll do is I'll just encourage this to jump further along, and here we've got the start of the file as we read backwards, so the end of the file really, isn't it, not the start. But as we come this way, you'll see that what I've done is I've highlighted some blocks in yellow just to make life simpler. Now here, this is the sort of shape that we're looking for. If you've looked at this in edc16, you will remember that there was this series of little bumps like this, and these are the figures that allow for the control of the swirl flaps. So in other words, they are the actuation values. The shape can be misleading, but that's the shape we're looking for. If we look at some bare values, there's some bare values, and if we look at it in 2D, obviously it doesn't show up as much because of the size of these bits here, but then if we look at 3D, in 3D you get more of an idea of what's going on. You can see that basically what you've got is a region that is reasonably flat and then it drops down. So in other words, it's a sort of a duty cycle value that is reasonably high and then comes down and down and down and down and down and then is very low. And you can see that there we are there. The highest value, I'm not sure if this will show on the video, but it's about 78. So we've got values of about 78, and then as we come along here, the figures slowly start to drop down. So that's what we're actually seeing here. It just doesn't look like that because it looks like a series of little peaks. So if you want a clue as to what you're seeing, you just need to look at one of the peaks. In other words, we've got a high value that seems to drop down, and then we've got another high value that seems to drop down. So that's really the shape we're looking for. This is often accompanied by similar shapes, possibly that one there, but similar shapes that might be modifiers or correctors or adjusters of these maps. And it's possible that this map might be an adjuster for a previous map that looks the same. Without a damos that will tell you exactly what the definition of each map is, it's not always easy to tell exactly which map is doing which. But what we've got next to this is, as you can see here, we've got another map, and this one seems to be set at one value, doesn't it? Look, all over. And if we go and look at that one, it's pretty much set at 82. So if we take that as 82%, it's pretty much set at 82%. This one here could well be set at a lower value of something like 50%, but it doesn't appear to be in use, because what we've got here is an axis for a very small map, and there is no axis for this one. So this appears to be the map that's in use, and again that one is set, as you can see there, about 78. These are usually default maps. In other words, this one here, this one here, they are usually values that the file will default to when circumstances change, very often an error. And there you are, there's another one there, and then there you are, you've got another small one there where this is not functioning, and you've got another one there. This looks like it's another one here. Again, you've got another one here. So these all look like they're probably default maps. And then we've got one that looks like a proper control map, and again another one that looks like a proper control map. And if we double click that one and go to 3D, there's the same shape we saw in the first one, and here I should imagine the same shape that we saw in the first one. So these are almost certainly the swirl maps that we're looking for that control swirl actuation. Now in edc17 it's fairly straightforward in the sense that you also get a set of values that are set at 5,000, in other words 50%, and so it gives you a clue that what you should do is set these to 50% if you don't want them to be functional. But if you look at this edc17, that does not seem to occur. It looks as if whenever there is a default, what the value defaults to is this one here, and this default value is 82%. Now what I suggest you do because of that is take the default value as your switch off value. So if you're going to switch these off and you're going to do it by the swirl flap control maps, what I suggest you do is you first go to that map, obviously, which is this one. There's the default one with all the values set at the same value, and then here's the one that we think might well be working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assume that 08192 is a good enough value for being off. So I'm going to highlight down to there, and I'm going to type in 08192 and press enter. Do I really want to make that change? Yes, and don't ask me again. That one is now all 08192, and then what I'll do is I'll just to make sure that I know where I am. There we are, it's now set at the same level as that one. And then I'll just pop along to the previous two. There we are. So let's have a look at that one. Go back to text mode, and what I'll do is I will highlight that one down to there. I can't remember if the highlight's on, so I'll just delete that again and do it again. Right, I'll highlight that one down to there, and again I will put 08192 enter. Of course I won't be asked this time because I've said yes to changes, and then I've got this one here and I will do exactly the same, 08192 and enter. And then I will go and have a look. Now this one of course looks like it's been set at 07782, doesn't it? So what I'll do is I'll just go and check. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? So there are more set at 7782 than there are at the others. So what I'll do is I will take that. So I'll go 07782. So what I'll do is I'll go back and I'll go 07782 for those, and I'll set them all at that. Ignore the colour change, that's because it was a higher number last time. 07782. So now I've got that one and that one and that one are all set the same as that one, and this one here I could leave as it is, couldn't I? So it matches that one, but in fact what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it the same as that one, just so that they're all consistent. So I'm going to change that one to that value again, so the 07782. So I'm going to put in there 07782, enter, and then I'm going to go and have a look at, just to check what we did. Right, so there we are, that one's been set slightly down on that one because I've used the previous setting, but then if I go and have a look across here, there we are, I've set that one all at the same level, that one all at the same level, and I'm going to assume now that they're set at the default, and because they're set at the default, and this is why I've done it, with a little bit of luck no errors will flag because the default has already been used as an acceptable value. So what I'm assuming is that if I look at that map and it's 77.8%, I'm assuming that if I set these to the same value, 77.8%, I won't flag any error codes. Whereas if I set these to 0 or if I set them to 100%, I may trigger error codes because I'm outside of the error range. And because I can't go and find the error range easily because I'm not sure where it is, I'm much better off staying in this sort of region. If I'm lucky, I won't get error codes at all, because when the error checking is done, this will be flagged up as just being the default value anyway, and that is acceptable. But you won't know until you do it. Right, now I'll stop there because as I said, this is a sort of belts and braces approach. In other words, I'm going to do this 2 different ways, and I'm going to do 2 different versions of this but use the same file. Sometimes you can use both versions in one file, and sometimes you have to use the 2 different methods, but one method will work for one file and one method will work for another file, so you have to be aware of the 2 methods just in case. So what I'll do is I'll stop there and we'll call that part 1,